Hello everyone and welcome back to your final science lesson before we get you all back to school. So your learning objective today is to observe that some materials change state. So remember we looked at states of matter last week. So some can change state when they are heated or cooled. So your vocabulary needed for today will be solid, liquid, gas like last time, ice, water, steam, water vapor, heated, heating, given energy, cooled, cooling, temperature, degrees Celsius, melt, freeze, solidify. Loads of words, don't worry about using all of them, as long as you're using some of the key important ones, which I will explain later on. So remember where we looked last week at a state of matter. What is a state of matter? Well, we have solids, we have liquids, we have gases, and I asked last week if you think of examples for each. So have a little quick think, remember what you can remember. So solids, for example, physical things we use every day, pencils, glue sticks, rubbers. Liquids might be the things we drink, fizzy drinks, for example, or water. Gases might be steam, it might be carbon dioxide or the air that we breathe. Okay, so those are some good examples. Now, some important words we're going to need today are freezing and cooling. So solids and liquids can be changed from one state to another by heating or cooling. If we freeze or cool a liquid, we can turn it into a solid. This change is called freezing, and water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. So if you remember on cold, frosty days, you'll notice sometimes that puddles and things are frozen, and that is because liquid, which is our water, has been cooled below a temperature and has frozen. So it's gone from being a liquid as a state to a solid state. So look at ice and water. See what happens if you put water into a freezer. So if you are a home learner at the moment, maybe put something, you might have an ice cube tray, put some water into the freezer and see what happens to it. If you've got a thermometer at home, fantastic. If you don't worry. Maybe see how cold your freezer is and write that down. On the other hand, heat melts a solid and turns it into a liquid. So cooling freezes a liquid into a solid. But on the other hand, if you have heat, it can melt a solid and turn it into a liquid. So if ice, which is a solid, is heated, it will change to water. And as we know, this change is called melting. Different solids melt at different temperatures. Ice will begin to melt at 0 degrees Celsius, while something like chocolate will actually melt at 35 degrees Celsius. We say that chocolate has a higher melting point. So if you ever want to have a nice melted chocolate, if you brought it to 0 degrees, it would not make a difference. It wouldn't start melting until much higher temperatures. Liquids can also be turned into gases. If we heat liquids, we can also turn them into gases. Boiling water will turn it from a liquid into a steam and water vapor. So there's those two words there. And steam is just this invisible stuff here. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't see it very well. And that is our gas. So this is what you can see when you see a boiler kettle, and sometimes if it's misty outside, that's definitely water vapor. And water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Right, so that will be everything for today's lesson. So I'm going to show you, okay, your worksheet. But the key thing to take from this is, especially when it's water, even if it's a solid, liquid or a gas, the state of matter can be changed depending on whether we heat or cool the state of matter. So let's have a little look at our sheet. Okay, so all of your key vocabulary is down here for you to use. So there's no need for any spelling mistakes today. Do it says, what does cooling and heating mean? Use the words temperature in your answer. So when you answer that question, you may want to think about choosing, for example, water, and thinking about when you cool water below 0 degrees Celsius, what happens? When you heat water as a liquid, what happens? It then says draw 3 diagrams showing water in a solid, liquid and gas form and label the properties. So here you go, solid, liquid, gas. So if you draw solid water, what is that? Well, you know it's ice. Liquid was just water. Gas was, well, look at the vocabulary if you've forgotten. And then you've got to think about the features. What does it look like? What might it feel like? Okay, probably going to struggle to feel the gas because remember it's one of those things that's difficult to capture using our hands. Solve it. What impact does temperature have upon water? Give examples of when or how you might see this. If you can use a thermometer and examples at home to help you. So think about how temperature affects water. You're going to need to use those words cooling or heating, definitely. And then mastery is more of an extension question here. If you've got time, can you think or do some research, to show different materials, or I should really have said different states of matter there, so I've made a bit of a mistake, that can be heated or cooled to turn from solids into liquids or gases? So I already showed you that when you melt chocolate, it goes from a solid state into a sort of liquid state. I want you to do some research. See if there are any other good examples of any objects or things that when heated or cooled will turn into a different state of matter. So that is everything for your science lesson. This is quite a nice big lesson for you, but quite meaty to get your teeth into. So looking forward to seeing plenty of work from you. Thank you very much, guys. That is all.